Welcome to the Lyfe podcast. In every episode, we dive into the most relatable aspects of life, helping you navigate the complexities of our contemporary world. Let's get started.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon all over the world, wherever you're watching this from. It's yet another day, and we're excited to be back at the Lyfe podcast. Please, if you haven't subscribed, just hit the subscription button, click the bell, the notification bell, so you can get updates every time we have a new episode out. And I'm so excited to have you watching wherever you are, on your iPad, on your computer, on your phone, wherever you've given us access to your bedroom, your sitting room, your living room, your kitchen, wherever you are, we're excited to be part of your day-to-day life. And like we do every episode, we bring you somebody new, somebody you've probably seen before, somebody that you don't know about, and we just share light on the great things they're doing, the great things God has done in their lives. And then we can inspire and encourage people to keep moving and having faith in God and have them share about their lives. And that's what we're doing today. Today, I have a wonderful gentleman I've known for a few years. He goes by the names of Shadrach. I'm not going to give him a long introduction. I'm going to let him talk about himself, and we're going to get into a conversation. And you're very welcome, Shadrach.
Sami, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for hosting me, man.
Good to finally have you. You've been a busy man over the last few days. And
but by the grace of God,
yes.
yes, I'm glad to be here.
How
honestly.
have you been?
Man, I've been good. I've been good. This year, I think I've been born again this year. In everything, not only spiritually, but in what I want to do, in clarity, in a lot of things have been happening. This has been a good year, in my walk with God, so yeah, it's been an amazing year.
What has happened?
Oh my God. What has happened is like last year was a very tough year.
Yeah.
It was the end. So when it was tough, definitely God checks you up, and then you start seeking Him in a deeper way like never before. As you know, for us, we're people who've been like around for a while. You think you have networks, you think you have a name, you think you have, and you try to do things your way, and then something happens and shakes you. I was like, hey, someone is in control, by the way. We are aware, we know He's in control, but at times we go ahead of Him. So something happened that had to slow me a little bit down and seek Him, and I get to hear from Him more. So that's what happened, really.
So you got more clarity.
Especially, like even my walk, my Christian walk and my calling, So that's what happened. Yeah.
What's your calling?
My calling, oh my God, my calling is really is people to enjoy everyday life through Christ, and like to enable them live a fruitful life and enjoy life, that's through the passion I have of music, of events, so that's my call. That's my calling,
That's great. Do you remember when we first met?
I'm trying to recall. Even when I was coming here, I was like, okay, when do we first meet with Sami? And I've been to
It's a question I ask every guest I have on the podcast, because I have an almost photographic memory. I remember things by events.
Yeah.
But I think we met, it might have been 2003. You were staying in Bunga?
Bunga, yes, Bunga.
Was that 2003?
Yeah, 2003, yes, it is.
So we had met at an event somewhere. I don't know where exactly, but we had met at an event before. Okay. Then I had a friend called Doug B who had a studio.
Yes, Doug B.
So we were recording. I walked out to the veranda and I looked over the fence, and it was your house. You were staying next door.
Yes,
so I'm like, hey, Shadrach.
Yeah.
And I think by then you had just come back from the UK?
Yeah, UK. I'd get back, come back from the UK, I just come back from the UK.
So you see how I remember?
Wow, you got a memory, man. That's amazing.
The grace of God,
It's been all those years, man. Over 20 years, right?
Yeah. Over 20 years. Yeah. So what was life for you before you moved to the UK? I want to get back to Shadrach back then, because not many people know your story. Everybody knows you in the entertainment space. They don't know your life before that. They don't know your life before Kampala. Or Kampala before you moved to the UK. So no one quite has the picture. It's a few people that know bits of that story. And I'd like you to just share with us.
Yeah, so before I came to Kampala, actually, I grew up from Masaka,
a
village called Kako.
Yeah.
Grew up with my mom and my grandma. as one of the favorites with my grandma. So I was raised there. My grandma, actually, my grandparents, they built churches.
Yeah.
And actually, so there's the church in Kako, they built it. So I grew up in church. We grew up in church, Anglican church.
Yeah.
I was very, very skinny. I think I'm still small, but not as skinny as I used to be. I'm very skinny. Went to Kako Primary School.
Yeah.
Then went to a secondary school called Kadugala Secondary School. As you heard the name, Kadugala. So that's really, really way deep down there.
Yeah.
And then later on, in my secondary, I came to, of course I used to come to Kampala before because we had aunties, come and visit for holidays and then go back. But then again, so I had my father who I'd never met, And then when I was still like in the village, of course we had a small TV. And then we'd be on TV and we'd be in parliament and they'll tell you that's your father. I'm seeing this.
Oh, he was a politician?
He was a politician.
Ah, okay.
So I'm seeing this gentleman on a TV. Seems to be powerful, seems to be popular, and I'm in the village. I'm like, okay. And that's your father. I was like, okay. So, but apparently, of course, later on, I had to come and meet him. So through my aunties when like in the city, they talked with him and everything. I was like, hey, you have your son back in the village. Can you connect with him and stuff like that? I was like, yeah. And can you get me here? So I left and I came to Kampala. So having been a politician, it means I left Kako and I came to Kololo. Straight.
Okay.
You understand?
Right. The gap between Kako and Kololo is like as wide as night and day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to this big mansion, I was like, hey, people live like this, actually. So I get to meet him. And then when I get to meet him, it was during school time. So I was taken to Chivuli Secondary School.
Okay.
And then I was given a Muslim name. I grew up, my mom gave me the name Shadrach Kuteesa. And the Kuteesa name is how actually when she was pregnant with me, she got a very, very bad accident. And under normal circumstances, she would have miscarried me. So Kuteesa kwa makama to be able to give. So that's Kuteesa. People know Kuteesa.
Kuteesa
Kuteesa, his will, exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
So when I come here, I meet my father. He gives me a Muslim name Nasa, and then he gives me the clan name Chaka. So I'm a guy, I have no full names. So depending where you know me from.
I actually met someone, who was it? Patrick. You remember Patrick?
Yeah, Patrick,
and
my
Patrick
brother, yeah.
knew Chaka. So I was like, no, you're Chaka. I'm like, Chaka? Shadrach. I'm like, Chaka?
Yeah.
Kuteesa. So now it makes sense.
So Chaka is my clan name Undiga.
Okay.
So my names, I would say my names are Chaka, Kuteesa, Nasa, Shadrach. Basically. So with that, then I go to Chivuli. Now I become a Muslim. I start pursuing Islam. And then so I went through school, and it was also like, since I was a politician, of course, I had a good time at school. Probably because somehow we thought we could mess up a bit and get away with it. And I was a little bit, I think, stubborn, I got in a bit of some fights with the teachers and stuff like that. I still love the music. I love the dancing. And of course, when in school, definitely created even a group. I think that's how even my passion for music goes way back through dancing,
You had a dancing group?
Yeah, we're one of the best dancers in school in Chivuli.
What was it called?
No, we didn't name the group, but we had a clique.
The
just clique was me, Mamoon, Kato, Hashim, Waswam. We had the Mob. We had Ziggy. We were like the best dancers in school. Like, even when Kadanke would start to be the last, we come a little bit later because everyone was waiting for us,
Yeah.
So I was a very good dancer.
So you were the popular boys in school.
Exactly. But then I get to lose my dad at an early age, and then. So when I lose my dad, definitely me having come from village, all of my other siblings, they were taken off. They were young, they were taken off by aunties and some I went with their moms. So we are 10 kids, but 5 mothers. So you can know how exactly.
Different space.
So for me, I went on my own at an early age because I couldn't go back to Masaka. So you don't want to go back. So that kind of way. So I had to go and start living on my own, and having been a politician and influential man, he was a very blessed man. He was a rich man. So where there's a house, where there's Kampala University, in Gaba, that was his home.
That was his home.
Yeah, that was his home. So like the home was building as him. So once he died, I went to the house.
Oh, okay.
21 bedrooms, jacuzzis on the lake, a young man, And I think that one now...
You started living the life.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now with that, I started doing parties because I love the music, I like partying. I started doing parties in the house and stuff like that. And then I think my partying life starts from there, liking to party. But again, of course, it didn't take long. The little money somehow got finished. And I was like, okay, what do I do? I need to really survive. And of course, at that time, so I had the idea to leave the country,
Okay.
And that was 2000. And that was 99, to leave the country and go to the US. But how do I leave the country? Of course. So there was the convention that happens, And then that time, of course, so there was the person who was the artist was going to perform at that time was El Wamala. So how to get a visa, you had to tag along as a band member to El Wamala.
Yeah.
So I tagged along as a band member to El Wamala.
Okay.
I went as his guitarist, apparently.
Hustling in Kampala.
I'm telling you. So that's I leave. So I leave and I go to the US. I spent there like a year. Of course, when I was there, of course, tried to look for work, job. I worked at Chick-fil-A. Then I became a CNA. Like tried to. These are like the nursing assistants who are really helping within the homes of the elderly.
Yeah.
I got to learn everything on the job. And I think I got some good jobs in the health facilities, and then. So while I was there, my plan was to come back. So for a while, I liked rock music. I liked hip hop and everything. So the lifestyle that came with it was also the lifestyle of like having tattoos, having all these rings and the leather boots
Pants
and what.
Yeah.
So before I left, I had it. I want to have a tattoo really. So I had a tattoo done locally before I left. It was so painful, It's a guy called Ujule, as the only guy was tattooing, the local way. So, but when I went there, I was like, you know what, maybe I could try to get to know this tattooing thing and then open the first tattoo parlor in Kampala, which is professional. So I think that's what brought me back quite early, because most people, when they go, they don't want to come back. So I got to know about, I connected with Superior Tattoo, and then I got to know about tattooing, bought equipment. I came back home in 2000 and opened the first tattoo parlor at Kalonji. Shades Tattoos at Kalonji Plaza. Of course, opening that tattoo parlor now, it brought me a lot of publicity.
Yeah.
Because people like media, everyone would know how tattoos done professionally. Others were like, do you get a hot stamp and then just press on someone's skin? So got interviews from newspapers, interviews on radio, interviews like on TV, WBS and all that. So now that one put my name out there as Shadrach, the tattoo guy. So plus my liking to party, Then again, I was the guy.
Quickly on the social circuit.
Exactly. I remember even Club Silk was still there, was happening. So every time I'd go there, everyone, I'd get even more clients. So at times I would leave. I used to drink, definitely, So at times I would leave the bar and end up in a tattoo shop and get inked. So that was more like my life. So, and again, around that year, so I fell in love, When I fell in love, and if with a young guy, we're young, and then, I made this girl pregnant, and then I had to leave now to say, okay, now this tattoo parlor maybe is not enough to sustain us. I'm going to become a family man. So now that's when I decided to say, now let me live good, and I go to the UK, to the UK. So I think my first trip to the UK was around 2001. I went to the UK the first time, then came back. And then 2002, when I came back 2002, I opened Games for You.
Yes.
Games for You, like a gaming
PlayStation.
PlayStation, everything. Because I was there in the UK and I was seeing, I went to the store, and then I saw, okay, these PlayStations are being hooked up and guys are just playing, testing games. But back home, I know guys would want them, but they can't afford them. So let me just get, do the same setup, but people come and pay for time. And then, so I opened Games for You. And even now the tattoo parlor also moved from Kalonji Plaza to the same place now, opposite Video Dido, that's at Park Royal. And then, so what I did is I had to do one more trip. And of course, when I came back even when my daughter was born in 2002, you know.
Yeah.
So when he was born, I was like, I need to go and work more. Yeah, you know. So when I went,
So you can make more money.
Yes. So I left, I went and came back, you know, and I think that's when we get to meet now.
Yes.
And when I was here, definitely the tattoo shop was running, Games for You was running. Then I think now my passion for music now I think kicked in. You know, like I'm getting more interested in music. Having been in the US, of course, there was a bit of connection, you know, within, like, especially more with hip hop because of the where we are, the clubs and stuff like that, you know, and the hoods and stuff like that. So I got more connected to hip hop. So but then at that time, and I around that time again, that's when Ugandan music was commercial is becoming to you know, with the chameleons and stuff like that, and the babes and the boobies. But then hip hop was still struggling. For me, I was like, you know what? Okay, now I love hip hop, but struggling. And then, you know, I say I cannot rap, but then I can be the other person. I can be the best, because I knew guys like Russell Simmons, Suge Knight, and all these guys. The guys were the executives, you know, and it's like me, I can be that.
Yeah.
So the idea came through, and then in 2005, fast forward, actually 2004, I registered my label, Platinum Entertainment. And then worked with a guy they beat called Dav MC, but we did one or two songs.
I know Dav.
You know.
He used to live at Buchanan Flats.
Exactly. So he was a rapper. He's a rapper. But I think now he's in politics, you know. So it was the first guy I signed. I worked with him. But later in 2005, we decided to do a project. We teamed up with Hemdi at No End, you know.
Halima's son. Right?
Halima's son at No End, and then we did a project called Hip Hop Canvas.
Yeah.
And the idea was, okay, you know, why we did the project is we want to identify why like Ugandans were not listening to hip hop music. And the idea is like, because it was due to the fact that the music, the lyrical content, they want to be more like Americans, you know, whatever they were saying about, you know, it's in English, you know, respecting women, this and that. I was like, no, maybe we need to create music that really people can relate to. So we did the project called Hip Hop Canvas, music with a message, so that whatever is on that album recording, it has be music with message. Yeah. So we did auditions and then get to record our first album. So that's when I get to meet GNL for the first time, you know, I get to meet Shoot Kaye for the first time. So they recorded another song that was a 12-track album. And then we had a song off there, the single hip hop, it's called Mother Africa, you know. And that was the first single that got for the album. And at that time, there was also the Palm Awards. So it got nominated for Palm Awards. It won. And I think for me, that one now gave me more reason to continue.
Continue doing events.
2006, we did another hip hop canvas, but this one was Steve at Fenon. Yeah. Also, we had a song there, Brand New Day, with the likes of Lumix, RIP, you know, Emma Katia, Lyrico G, all these guys. Then fast forward. So in 2007, I was like, okay, what do we need to do? The tattoo is still going on. Tattoo parlor is business going on, and the games. But then now the music was picking up. So I decided that, okay, like maybe we need to now benchmark. Because now in Tanzania, Bongo was big. In Kenya, Genge was big. I was like, you know what, maybe let's benchmark and try to collaborate with these guys and figure out what they're doing better, you know? Yeah. So now the next hip hop canvas was Hip Hop Canvas Utake. Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya. And it was a collaboration between the Kenyans, Tanzanians, and then the Ugandans here. So here you had the likes of Babaluku, Young Nick was part of the project, then AY from Tanzania, and then, you know, Joa Kali. So we did a song at Good Enough Records, you know.
With Eddie and
With Eddie, yes, you know. Ngoni. And then, and I remember Ngoni, him, you know, people used to call me different names. I think Eddie used to call me P. Diddy. Then other people used to call me, I think Benon called me Suge Knight. I think Benon used to call me Suge Knight. Yes. Yeah. So everyone had their own thing.
Their own name, they call it. You were the businessman. You brought business to the music that wasn't here.
Exactly. Yeah. So we recorded a song of the album called Utake Anthem, and it was a big song. It cut across, and it played on East African channel, the channel 5 on East Africa channel. You know, we won the hip hop. It won the hip hop song for Palm Awards again here. Yeah. So another one really now it kept, you know, elevating me as like, you know what, I think now the plan is to identify, because we're doing albums and featuring many artists. I was like, you know what, I think I need to get one artist to sell this genre to the Ugandans. So on the lookout of that, of course, one of the artists had to be General Zamba. So at the same time also, you know, it was growing. It was really, you know, from the first hip hop canvas, it was committed, it was growing. So we meet up And then he had this song he's just recorded called Soda Gingerly. I remember I had a Glanza, which had a subwoofer. We played in that car. I was like, Soda Gingerly. I was like, I said, this is it. So I signed with GNL. You know, we went ahead, did Koi Koi album. You know, it had
Koi Koi was
a
big song.
Yeah, big song. Koi Koi was big. We had Luka there, Story ya Luka. We had Mwana wa Baba. You know, we had the Chifulo Musaja. You know, and so that was 2008. So 2009. We get to do the first, I think. Okay, it wasn't the first because Navi had done a concert before, but I believe because now Jane became the first artist to break through to play on all conservative radios, just as hip hop artist, was the first guy to break through and play on all different on all the radios. So 2009 comes and we want to do a concert, Koi Koi concert, and then and we had to look, and who was interested? Balam. Can you imagine how long this has been? So that was the first hip hop concert, and I think the only concert Balam has ever. I don't know if he's done other hip hop concerts. I have to think through. I don't think. But there was the first concert bought by a promoter. So Balam bought the concert. We had Chadondo, you know. I remember then around that time I bought this golf, you know. So things were happening for me. You know, I bought this nice golf, packed it Chadondo. I remember at the concert. So production by Steve Jane, Fenon. Wow, that was like the show was amazing. You know, it was a sellout. The production was great. I remember I was watching the show with Reddy and Weasel, and they were like, "Wow, this is next level." So fast forward, definitely worked with GNL, but again, of course, had his plan with his Baboon Forest, and then later on 2009, 2010, so he pursued Baboon Forest, got on Munji, and then I had to go to look for my next artist. And what I did was to do a hip hop canvas 2010. You know, I was like, okay, now that became a model for me try to identify talent. So I said, okay, let's do another hip hop canvas 2010. That was now with Swangs. You realize, you know, from No End to Steve Jean, you know, to Good Enough, to Swangs, you know, and now even it was now no longer. Now Julius had joined together with the Benon, because when you did like the Kankaneza and what was Muswangali, you know, the other side in my, so but then that come even to Myenga now, so we did the album, you know, from the next hip hop canvas 2010 at Swangs. Of course, now we had the likes of now around before then. That's when I met Keiko. You know, so Keiko was on the album, Don MC, you know, Sentinelli said, you know, quite a lot of good guys, you know. So we did that album. And then the single of that song of that album was Foreign Heroes, okay, which had Keiko and which had Don MC and Ispam Gunjule, you know. So it became a big song, and then that's when I get to sign Keiko in 2010. We signed Keiko 2010, and then definitely our first release was Alwo. Then released This How We Do It, became huge. Big song. And of course for me, even with GNL, what happened is the first collaboration he did was with Reddy and Weasel. So for me, I said, let me still, if it worked with GNL, can work with Keiko. So we did a remix, you know, with Reddy and Weasel. And this is how we do it. Blew up. So before you know, she's, you know, it was time for Big Brother. She was going to perform at Big Brother with Reddy and Weasel. It was Channel O. I was nominated for Channel O, and she won. So basically, man, and then I was the guy. And I was a real hip hop mogul, you know. Running it at parlor, you know, and then also, of course, with the games. But of course, along the way, you know, what happened is like just before, a couple of years before, around 2007-ish, I picked on a habit. The habit was, and that was, I was smoking weed, you know, smoking weed. But again, as, you know, went too much partying, and then I picked on another kind of drug. And you had to upgrade. There's more money, it was, you know, there was the guy, so upgraded, and then I was introduced to cocaine, you know. So, of course, the guy told me, Shadrach, you know, that weed you're smoking is nothing. I have something that can make you feel. I was like, the guy, you know. So, of course, it made me feel the guy, and that's what it is, you know. So, before you know, it's just once in a week or once a week, then, okay, another Friday. Then, okay, then Friday, Saturday. So now for me, the business person I am, and because now I was connected and I knew people, I was like, you know, most of these guys who are doing hip hop and executives, they have most of them are dealers. I think now I can be a dealer also. You know? So I got into dealing because before I never knew that even that drug existed, you know. So we get into dealing now. I get into dealing. The drugs, which means now I had it a lot in my possession. So I used more. And of course, there's a saying, never get high on your own supply. So, yeah, I just did that,
There's a rule, not
There's a rule,
saying.
yeah. Don't, So for me, I did that. And now addiction. There's what happens when you take this drug, there are chemical changes now before from tolerance to tolerance is like when you need more quantities to give you the first high you got. So it means I'm using more. Yeah, you understand. So so now addiction develops. Addiction develops. When it develops, you still in there, still doing it. But then again, things start getting out of hand. Of course, I told you I had my daughter earlier. I had got that relationship now. Died out.
You're busy now. You're out hanging.
I'm hanging. I'm not available.
Yeah.
Even my family relationships also got strained because we have this family get together. I'm not available because I'm paying. I'm hanging. So business, now you're like using even during the day. Because before it was just, at night and but now it's a daily thing. So you spend more time getting high over, getting over wearing the high get wearing over and, doing again, So of course, fast forward, so we stopped working with Keku in around 2011, But then again, 2012 a bit, I worked with Young Z.
Yeah.
Young Z, there's a couple of projects.
Yes, where did Young Z go?
Yeah, now he has a new name and he's back at Swangs,
Oh yeah, because I remember that project was done by Benon at Swangs.
Yeah, but because it started at Swangs, then I came. Then after Swangs came to me. Okay. Then now, Zagalendo, because Zagalendo or Galendo, some name I don't know the name. That's the name he's using right now. Then. 2013, 2013, I get to work with Tonics. There's the first artist who's not hip hop I get to work with. To get to Chekole, Itano. So, but all that time now.
He was with you at that time.
Yeah.
That's the time he really had big songs.
Yeah. Even we did the Itano Easter tour, like Western. That was me doing it.
Wow.
But again, at that time, I'm struggling with addiction. People don't know because when the first guys I think really went into this whole thing. So you try to hide it. Again, you have fame. You don't want people to know.
Yeah.
It's not something you feel proud about. But I was struggling. So in 2020, so with all these things of like dealing and what. So of course there's that people in the business before me and then people have their territories and their clans. So if you start selling to their clans because now you're known, then you're gonna have some problems, So those problems started, to the extent that even my beautiful car, which I love, the Golf, was lit on fire.
Lit on fire?
Yeah, in my compound.
Wow.
My compound.
They came at home when you're sleeping at night, and they lit it on fire.
Exactly.
Wow.
So for me now,
movies.
yeah, man. So for me, that was like, okay.
Wake up call.
You wake up call. First of all, that, everything, realize that everything's falling apart and you want out, but because of you have the cravings and you're addicted, you keep going back. Even when you want out, you want out, you keep going back.
Yeah.
So 2013, I was like, okay, now when that happens, like I need to move, So I say that's when I decided to move to let me move to Nalia, try to get away from, because I still, even I left Bunga, but I'd come to Konge. See the same road.
Same road.
Crazy, yeah. Crazy, yeah. Yes. So I was like, so that was my way to try to get out, But again, I would drive. Nalia is in town. It's close.
A few minutes.
You'd get there, Of course, at that time, your car is gone, your money is reducing, you also have to keep up appearances, you cannot take borders because you been the papers.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of the struggle. So 2013 I started that journey, and that's also was still working with Tonics.
Yeah.
By 2014 I was like, what? I was like, I gotta be committed to make sure this one works. So I started seeking God, Apparently, of course I was, as I said, I was a Muslim, so I prayed as a Muslim, started praying 5 times a day. But then I was heavily tattooed and Islam is tough. They're like, those tattoos, you have to cut, before you die, you have to cut off,
How many tattoos do you have?
I have like 8 tattoos.
Wow.
8, yeah. So condemnation also was there. Your prayers aren't arriving because before as a Muslim, before you pray, you take ablution, wudu. So you have to be clean before God. And then if like the water, I feel like, that water doesn't reach the skin. Now see,
to take off the
you cannot, those prayers are not reaching. So you're here struggling and then try to look for God by telling you, your prayers is come out. Is it
because of tattoos.
You know, so of course, then I just prayed to God and say, so I reflected on my life, and I remember that, as much as there were people, there are girls in my life, who want to have a good time, but there's this girl who had, who had dated, and then she was really very good woman and very disciplined and very
she stuck
focused.
Around.
She had left me now.
Okay.
She had I was crazy. I was like, you were, I cannot handle this kind of thing. So she had left me.
Yeah.
This is now even 5 years when she had left me. So I'm like, but God will bring her back in my life. I think, I think that would be like, I think she'll help me walk this journey, because as you try to get out, you need someone to walk with you, to support you. I just said that prayer just like that, and then she made contact the next week.
Wow.
After 5 years.
Wow.
And then definitely was, I apologize, I'm sorry I treated you and stuff like that. She had given her life to Christ, So we started connecting. Of course, she was still worried, like maybe am I the old person? But the grace of God, I think God already said that your
path is meant to be together.
So connected, and I promised I changed, and I'm going to work on myself. So I started connecting again 2014. And then, in 2015, even now she had even moved in, staying together, stuff like that. But I was still a Muslim and she was Christian. And I was like, I want to give you life to Christ. I'm like, you know what? No, I'm not telling you to convert to Islam. Don't tell me, hey, let's do you, I do me, and we're good,
Yeah.
But of course the struggles are still there, and so eventually, so one day, I just wake up and said, I want to go to church. When I was selling in Chihuahua, so I wake up and I go to St. Luke, here in Tinder. And of course, when I was there, I felt at home. And I think now I connected, like, I tried to connect. Because, of course, there was this Jesus who, who can, everything, become, like, everything becomes new. Actually, I was watching a bit of the Samba before I went to church, like, become a new creature, like, me, Shadrach. You don't know what you're talking about. I mean, everything I did
in the past will just disappear.
And then before, just like that, you understand, So I was like, nah. Because for me, I remember Jesus, but I remember Sunday school, So when I go, then the hymns also, the Anglican hymns, I could connect. I remember back in the church, like, okay, that song I remember. Sanyuse Yesu yana zake bibi Anja. So that
so you felt at home.
I felt at home, So like, okay, so I told the preacher that I want to give my life to Christ, and I was like, you know what, you have to mention the congregation. I was like, I said, this preacher doesn't know me. I'm still a popular guy. I don't want to wake up and. And I remember something had happened with Shadow. Mugisha, I didn't want to be like that, okay, we're getting papers and everything.
Oh, yeah, because they came out and said, I'm now born again, and then craziness broke out.
But I did not. So, but I had to, actually, that's 2015. For I don't know for what, but God knows better. I was organizing Christmas carols. I was still a Muslim, and I felt bad. And I didn't organize. Let me organize the Christmas carols. For me, I was like, these guys. I'm seeing everyone is doing their own thing. I had heard of Cantat and what. I was like, me, let's do something at a big level. We go to do Serena, get different choirs. Can we do one big thing? So I started doing it, I did it. I planned it with Steve Jane, actually, I was doing production. So I was introduced to Sandra Sui, Proclaim, I got Rubaga Miracle, I got the Anglican Church, and the Menembe Diocesan Choir. And then I put people together, could you, that thing of,
Yeah.
But again, I think God also that is something
was aligning to that path.
So when I come to the time, I say, okay, I can't, when the preacher asked me, to give my life to Christ, like within the congregation, I said no. Then I was like, no, I wouldn't do that. But then I had a meeting Now we were meeting with one of the pastors called, a pastor called Charles Kasimante. Because I want to sell tables.
Charles is a good friend of mine. He was from Kansanga.
Kansanga, exactly.
Yes.
So because now I started asking guys, okay, how do I sell a Christian concert? I need tables, I had no contacts. So he told me, there's a gentleman called Charles Kasimante. We'll get you to people who can buy tables. So for me now, when he gives me an appointment, I go with an intention that also I'm going to share my story with him and ask him to lead me to Jesus. And that's exactly what I did. So actually, Pastor Kasimante Charles led me to Christ.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yes. So before you know...
it's interesting. He stayed in Bunga. He was in Kansanga.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? So with that now, I became born again. I become born again. I tell my mother, and my mother's like, oh my God, I've been praying for you all my life. Apparently even my daughter was praying for me. So then what happened? So that was December 2015. So 2016, of course, I had to look for a church, and I joined Watoto Church. When I joined, it was Jan, but then they announced baptism by immersion. It was February, so I joined the class, so baptism, and I got baptized by immersion. Yeah, and then after they announced the discipleship class, I joined the discipleship class. And of course, while we were doing the class, definitely they were telling us, okay, you have to be doers of the word, just hearers of the word. So what was happening with my girlfriend then, So I go home, I say, but now, according to what
we're being told, this is not right.
It's not right.
We're living together.
So it's like, but even you as a Christian, you know better. But of course, as you know, I think most Christians end up doing that. So okay, let's separate the rooms and believe that when we get married, we cannot see each other, but we're in the same house, Yeah, so believe God for a wedding, May 28th, that was in March, and we got married. And
I was actually shocked because I think I was with you about 2-3 weeks before your wedding. And then somebody tells me, Shadrach got married yesterday. I'm like, how? When?
It was just a few people, 100 people. I didn't write, it was a small wedding, very small wedding,
Yeah, you just woke up and said, I have to do this right.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So I got married, and then we are 9 years in marriage.
Yeah.
So
2
definitely
children.
Yeah. So now remember then again, even our children, because she had a child. Actually, they were good to meet her for the very first time. If I'm to take you back, I met her when my daughter, was making 2 years, and she had a daughter who was also making 1 year. So and then my daughter's birthday is 10th April, and her daughter's birthday is 12th April. So someone says, you know what? I know a friend who was a friend, and their friend, why don't you just do? People do on birthday, and that's how I get to meet her, And then years later, God has already planned it. Of course, now when we started dating, then years later we started dating, and now the kids now come together. When as they were little kids,
Yeah, because now you have to blend the family because they had met at the birthday.
But then again, now when you get married, now again the big girls, they get girls. We're blended family. We have 4 kids. I have 4 kids, beautiful kids, bless the Lord. Then again, so 2016, of course, now the Lord again led me to use my gifts for His kingdom. I was still passionate about music and events. And then, now that because I'd now gone, I was in Kiwatule, so I went in Tinda, or to Tinda North. There was a pastor there called Pastor Remy. He introduced me to a gentleman called Eki. I was like, this is what I'm doing. I know people. So say, you know what?
Paul
Eki. So say call Eki. So when I call Eki, Eki introduced me to Rone Habasa.
Yeah.
And man, I think that was really good. I think my destiny helper really, really good. So he received me well, and I've walked a journey with him even up to now. It's been amazing. He's a brother. So we started doing, we started Red Sofa with him. Because again, we had to create concepts, Christian concepts. So we had Red Sofa, and nothing remember Red Sofa. The same year, of course, my first concert I did was a one-time concert by Kopi Blai, my first gospel concert. So I started using my gifts for the kingdom. So one time then we did Amazing Grace concert later on in November for the same year 2016 for Brian Lubega. And then now 2017, 2018, Red Sofas. I remember 2017, so I did something for D-Rent, his testimony concert. I did it at Garden City Rooftop. So now I started coming to the gospel, gospel industry, doing what I'm doing. And then, of course, moving forward, in 2019, because all these things, first of all, I first did all these things under platinum concepts. Then I moved to red code,
Yeah.
I still went to, then 2019, of course, God gave me a new name, and that was Vine. Vine Entertainment Group. Actually, it was Vine Music first. So we planned to do Vine Music, and I was like, okay, cannot be Vine Music. That's just an event. It should be a body organizing it, and then Vine Entertainment Group was born. So from Platinum Entertainment to Vine Entertainment Group. So 2019 registered a Vine Entertainment Group, and then our plan was to do the first event was going to be Vine Awards in 2020.
Yeah.
Lockdown happened. So I do it virtually. And again, also the plan was to do the first event called Alive in the Park. But then again, was still in lockdown.
That was the one with, what's his name, who sang Twale?
Floroka,
yeah.
So we decided let's do a virtual
concert, yeah.
Exactly. So also we did a live at home. It became a live at home because we were home.
Yeah.
So again, 2021 was still in lockdown. So again, Vine Awards virtual, and then Alive at home, virtual. 2022 were opened up. So we did the first event we did was, of course, we did the first Vine Awards, physical one.
Yeah.
And we did the first physical Alive in the Park. So now
that was the one with Pompey
and Limo Blaze at Legends,
Yeah.
So we did 2020, then 20, of course, 2023, another one. But again, so I think the Lord was like now leading me to not do something within music. So we started a project called Moyo Throne, and it was more like about worship, really getting like writers and producers together to create worship music, But also I started now working with artists like Benji Kasule.
Very talented.
Yeah, exactly. So later on, I started working now, like now as we are now, we have Vine Music, which is now the arm. So Vine Entertainment Group
has Vine Awards, Vine Music.
So we have the events.
Yeah.
Which events now we have? Of course, we've done events like Fuse. I didn't talk about when I did my first hip hop, all Christian hip hop concert. Then we also did something for basketball called, for the interchurch basketball called Above the Realm. So, but then those are events we've done. We also did something called Banquet. I remember in 2018 with Sanyu, Angela Sanyu, Steve Keys, But then as we are right now, of course, we're focus on the 3 events now. Under events, we have Moyo Throne, which I haven't done, and we plan to introduce it, I think, next year.
You did a virtual one though, right?
Yeah.
Because I saw something sometime back.
Yeah. So we have Moyo Throne, which is really about worship, and then we have the Alive in the Park, which is a family event. Then we have the Vine, because this will be Vine Music Awards. Now they're gonna be actually this will be Vine Awards. Vine Awards. Now they're becoming Vine Marketplace Awards. Because we don't only focus on music, we also focus on other spheres of influence. In family, media, science and technology. Politics, education. So now those are the main events, and then under the music we have the Vine Music, and now also work hand in hand also with Rachel K, and I have another artist called Aikuru. We're introducing another guy called Bleak, the other Vine Music.
Yeah, I know Bleak from Watoto.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And then of course where we want to go is film.
That's beautiful.
I want to go in film. We'll be able to create content which is Christian-based content, and then we bless the Lord. So I think that's
a beautiful
Yeah.
journey. What have been some of your challenges as a Christian events person? Because I remember when you had just started, the time you called me, you said, I need to meet you. Let's meet. And we had a meeting, and you're saying, I don't understand why are fellow Christians fighting me when we're doing the same thing.
Man.
Because you're saying in the world, everybody has their own lane. Everyone is doing their thing. But where I thought Christianity things would be different, again, they're the same people fighting me. So share a bit about that.
Now, of course, now I had expectations when I became like a Christian, like, this one body of Christ. Because reading the Bible, I say, one body. But then when I got into the mix, it was a different thing. First of all, even me as a promoter, I wasn't really, I was fought by other, other promoters, that didn't really support me. And I was like, okay, I thought we're all doing kingdom, So one thing was, but also that I realized that also is something that is within the world, body of Christ.
Everybody,
As even ministries, I got to realize there's politics in ministries, or I'm of South. So for me now, I'm used. Okay, I'm Muslim. If Juma, I can pray anywhere else.
Yeah.
Understand? I could pray. At times I play in Wandege, at times I
Yeah.
play in Jubilee, at times I play in like a small mosque, you know.
And
I was
it's
like,
all
now,
the same.
I was like, now this one,
Yeah, everybody has
here now
their own
doctrines,
territory.
what?
Yeah.
Then for me, of course, that becomes so hard because when you're doing events, you want everyone on board. You want everyone. So I realize now we want to go to somewhere else, like, how do you pray from? And then if you don't pray from there, they don't give you a platform, you know.
Yeah.
But then also again, I realize now other people within the music industry, also promoters, they're also fighting you. And that has been the hardest thing, just to deal with that mentally and just say, okay, but you know, so actually now I come to accept it and I say, you know what, I think I have to really, the God who called me, once I trust in God to do what I'm going to do, is going to make it happen. If God is for you, that's all you need, you know.
Yeah.
So that has been one of the challenges. First of all, to be able to, we are not united as Christians, even as church, but also even as people within the music industry. There's a lot of divisions and bad mind and stuff like that. You know how to deal with that. Another challenge has been, of course, the mindset of like making sure that, okay, if gospel is ministry is free.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
You know,
Church always thinks
things
anything
are free.
that has
You know,
Jesus to it should be free.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. Like, okay, even as doing a label, how do you now go to invest into it? And then again, when people are performing or are ministering, it's for free, you know? That's something I also had to really, I've been struggling with. That's the biggest challenge. But also the mindset of even paying for the events. Because for us, when we came, there was a lot of events happening, but most of them were happening in church. So church, you have all the acts going in church. You know, the church is not paying for sound, it's not paying for venue.
They have everything they need.
Now you are doing an event, you are paying for venue, publicity, what?
Stage,
and pretty much there's some artists, and then sound, and then people think they don't want to pay for it. Even when you try to give people some comps, they say they need transport.
I give you a free ticket and then I also give you transport to come.
Exactly, this is the young people you have, you know.
Yeah.
So that's been the challenge, you know. But again, you know, you go back to God and say, God, you know, I think there's, like the way it was with Moses, the way it was with different people, that, you know, at times we were there and realized, okay, now you're not just any other person. You might have to pay the price, but you're the one who's going to bring about the change, you know. So you come and recognize, okay, maybe all this I'm here for a reason. You know, because I was like, you know, and God was like, okay, the Christians who wake up and they go to church on Sunday, you know, and even the Bible. There are people, you know, when Jesus preached and said 5,000 give their life to Christ. We don't know their names, but you know Nehemiah. You know David, you know what? So there are people also, you understand? Yeah, you know, but also there was a Saul and there's a Paul, you know. So you are here for a season like, if a time like this, and then amidst these challenges, you are the one to carry the cross, you know. So I've come to accept that and say, no, by the grace of God, I say, God, okay, if you're with me, let's go, you know. And also God has, and by the way, because you see the background, I was a bad boy. You know, a dealer. So you just imagine the mindset we had. That thing was an eye for an eye. You understand?
Yeah.
So you come here, and these guys, and you're like, so you're like, okay, do I get my old thing? Do I bring it here? But then, by the grace of God, God is, that's why I changed you. You see, that's why I've never had me like attack anyone. All do a podcast, all go on social media. And I've done videos, I'm talking about me, because I'm like, oh my God, God has done an amazing work in me. Because imagine, for us that time, what we knew is, it was...
You do something to me, I get you back.
Yeah, double, you know. But God has made the grace, you know. Even in my marriage, you know, like to be married for 9 years, being loyal to my wife, I never knew anything like that. For us, we are party people. So even the same grace that has been in my marriage, the same grace that really God has managed me to forgive those really who are fight against me. There's some grace that's helping to carry on and pursue the calling on my life. Yeah.
How has it been meeting pastors, getting them to get on board with the events you're doing? Has that been easy?
Man, no, that's another reality. That one, I did for. I tried to do that, but it didn't work. And I took it so personal. Every time I go to Rome, I say, but you people, but what kind of Christians? I thought it's kingdom. So for us, can't you recognize that there's a sphere that we're trying to really occupy?
Yeah.
And the only thing that you pastors cannot go and occupy it. So the only way is to support us. But again, we're coming to you and there's a lot of bureaucracy and it's all still like this, because this year I make 20 years in the industry.
Yeah.
So I just woke up and just post. I was like, you know what? Okay, I make 20 years. But then God started speaking to me. Okay, what does it mean? You know, 10 years you're the other side, 10 years you're this way. I was like, okay, by now, whatever you're going to do is by my spirit. not by might or power. So
everything has to change.
Don't just look up to me who called you. And for me now, I started now healing from that and just say, okay, now pastors, okay, I'm not going to look for. Try to pursue pastors, make sure that and that they need to, and God wants to get the glory. That is, you don't wake up and say, it wasn't for this church. I wouldn't have been. It wasn't for this pastor. So now this year, that's what I told you when I was starting, man. This year, I'm having the time of my life, even as a Christian and everything, because I have more clarity, and also to know what even where God has called me. Because at times is. Once you become a Christian, you can belong to a church. But then again, okay, churches have their way, culture of doing things and stuff like that. So before you know, you might just try to adapt to that. But then there's also the kingdom thing.
A bigger
and then
picture.
before you know, you're going by this, but then God was like, Shadrach, I didn't know. You a Muslim, you're in a village, you're a drug addict, you cannot be like any other Christian. There's a way you could have a different mindset of doing things, You have people, if you have people you've hung with who are called people of the world, you understand? So you know their struggles. You can, when I call the world, then that you have to understand, you can't create that big secular, but you have to have a different mindset in terms of who do I reach out, how do you relate with people, how do you relate even with Muslims, you understand? Because, and God was like, you have been a Muslim, you made a major decision to leave a prophet for Jesus. Again, so you know that most Christians, and God was like, how do people become Muslims or Christians in your countries? Like, it's your father. If your father is a Christian, Anglican, you become an Anglican. If you're Catholic, if you're, So now, do you realize that most Christians are Christians because their parents are Christians? So they've grown up knowing Jesus, and so they don't understand what a Muslim means being able. So for you now, you have a different mindset on how do you reach out to Muslim. You struggle with addiction, you understand, what it means to reach out to someone who's addicted. You shouldn't be judgmental. You understand? So you've been all these things. So now, and this year's telling me, so now, as you serve me this year, have the kind of mindset, and also know that now I called you to the body of Christ. Your gift is not one ministry. You know that, okay, I have to work with only this ministry. Your gift is the body of Christ, but also have the kingdom mindset. And I think even as Christians, that's why we have, because when you put kingdom first, then kingdom is bigger than your culture in your ministry and stuff like that, The same way you could be making, now, the same way, it's very basic, simple explanation, like in communication. You may have different radios, each with their own way of doing things, their own target audience. You should have different, you could have Airtel, MTN, okay? But then you will say, at the end of the advert, they say, UCC is doing what?
Regulated by UCC.
Regulated by UCC. So UCC in this case will be like the kingdom. No matter what you have, your own thing. But this is the kingdom. So the kingdom becomes bigger. No matter. So for me now, the God is letting me know, okay, focus on the kingdom. Kingdom mindset. You understand? You don't be, I belong to so and so, I'm of so and so, I'm of Apollos, I'm of what. I don't expect you to be part of. And that's what God is speaking to me this year. Even as I continue to use you, just know you're one body of Christ. Just know that, okay, one thing, just understand the Bible, that there's a great commandment, is love God with all your heart and all your soul, and then love your people. So now I'm like, okay, my energy, let me focus on loving God. And the more you love God, it works on you and everything just works out automatically. Even me as my character, I had issues. Like, by the way, one of the major things worked on me, I told you like this from after living the park last year to now is my character. Humility. You understand? To be humble, to be like, because you might think that, you're Shadrach, to be humble, how you deal with people, to be my integrity, my everything, And now that's what I just said, Shadrach, I can bless you. But I'm not interested I'm interested in your character. So, beautiful. But that, when is is going to press you, is going to squeeze you. Going to understand, and that's what I've been, and I think I've become a much better person, even through that season, And also he revealed more of himself to me to really have because we have to agree, the divisions are there, but then again, for you, as I said, if you are like Nehemiah, you just know that there's something you need to make done, irrespective, and you're going to work with people to make sure that that's done. Build, So exactly. Even what I'm doing, I'm going to have people from different ministries support me. So one thing to me, I don't want you, with your calling, I don't want to be like, I belong to so and so. I belong to so. First of all, you belong to Church of Christ.
It's not church culture, it's kingdom culture.
Exactly, kingdom culture. So for me, that's what's been so very clear for me this year. And I'm in that place, so where I feel like, oh, thank God, So Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
As we close, what would you advise somebody who wants to get into the event space in the Christian circles?
Well, man, you know what? First of all, you got to be very patient. You don't have to think of, if I want to make money, then it's
not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, It's not going to happen, But again, I believe is as I mentioned before, like like in the industry generally, like the way, like even the artists, like the likes of the late Katumba, and then and then Wamala and what the diet not like really making money.
Yeah.
But then time came, and now guys are really making money.
Yeah.
The same way I think it's a journey you have to walk. Like it's a process you have to go through for the Christian events also. But then again, first of all, let's be like, okay, it's something you have to do. God has committed to do, and you do it wholeheartedly, and God will bless you at His own time. But if you think I want to do this event, because we've never made a single coin from any event, we've never made a single coin, even as Vine, from any event, any profit, But why do you continue doing it? Because you feel like, that's God has called you there, and it's been gracious. Because I mean, as a family man, it's been faithful, Because again, my daughters are in university.
Bills and
next year, my daughters are finishing university. That is. So somehow, irrespective of whether the event is working or not, God take care of that. He's feeding us, we're living, we have shelter. So at times is expectations also to know that, okay, how do I want to make money from this? If that's a thing, don't. Don't. But if you feel like there's a call and there's a gap, we need to then go into events. And God will bless you in certain ways. But then you need to be very patient, Of course, that's why you're going also. You also have to have the kingdom mindset. You cannot go into it thinking that, and also know you have to be just trusting God. You don't think that now, Christian, we are Christian. No. Don't even think about it, because they're not supporting. They're not giving you that platform, they're not doing what. So just go into it that kind of way. To know that you're doing it because it's a calling, and it's a gap you have to fill.
Thank you very much. Those are beautiful words. I'm glad that you could come through. Thank you for
coming
coming through
here, man.
and sharing your story. It's an amazing story when we hear it from beginning, and to see that God kept paving a way for you to where He wanted. Amen. I mean, how you met your wife.
Yes.
She has a child, you have a child. I meet at a birthday party, and now they're family. How you say, I want to get to church, I want to go to Christ, and then you meet her again.
And you see, with that also, God is showing me, like, imagine, and on this podcast, I'd say, we different parents, but one family. The same way. Imagine, even for us, even church, we had that mindset. Now imagine, because you see, it fails in most families, where it's like, where you feel a stepmom, a stepdad, at what kids are, and they don't get along with it. You're not my mother. One is a stepmom, stepfather. You're not my father. You're not my mom. We don't have it. Because at the end of the day is we're one family, irrespective of that. Some of them have different blended, and the same way church should be. You can be that I'm of so and so, I'm so and so. No. Once the bride, who's our Jesus, is a bride. Yes, we're married to that family. So stop these things of And I think we would have gone so much far as a church if we try to really. And I think if we try to really be able to handle that.
That's true.
The same way in my family, I think now how we're doing it in my family, I want to apply it also in the kingdom work. Not to say that I belong to so and so, I belong to so and so. I respect everyone. I respect every man of God. I respect every ministry.
We all belong to one kingdom.
We all belong to one kingdom.
There's
and for me, that's
king.
what one king. And for me, that's what comes so clear to me. I say, don't conform.
Don't divide.
Don't conform to what has been. Don't conform to what church is trying to create. Or understand. So it's because for you, I took you in different places to see. To be open mind, to see, to have a different mindset.
God's diversity.
So don't be, understand. So that's what's happening, and I'm glad God got me through all that I walked that whole journey with Him. Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you for all who are watching. You can share, click the notification button so you can get all the updates. You can support us financially so we can keep doing this. All this costs money through mobile money. We have Cash App. All the details are in the description down there. And Shadrach, how do people get to find you if they need to give you the event to manage, if they need to do some consultation?
Okay, so we are on our socials as at Vine Ent Group. We are on all
Vine,
VINE, then VINEENT.
Oh, Vine Ent. Ent for entertainment.
Yeah, yes, the GROUP, Advantage Group on Twitter, on all socials.
Yeah.
Also for me at Shadrach Kuteesa on all socials.
How do you spell Shadrach?
SHADE.
Okay.
Kuteesa, KUTEESA.
Okay.
And as we close, of course, we're making 5 years as Vine, so we want people to come and support. As you support us, Sami-K, also send something.
Yes, please do.
Please. Yes.
Thank you so much for serving Jesus
Thank you.
for standing to the testament that God is faithful, that God will take care of you when you do his business, that God can actually lead you. I think for me, the one thing that God has been teaching me in this season is trust.
Trust, yes.
Trusting him, trusting his leading. And through your story, we're seeing that God is constantly reminding you to trust him as he leads you, as he guides your path. I mean, we can go on, but we have to close. Thank you so much. God bless you. Life be.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Life Be podcast with Sami-K. Your support means the world to us. Please leave a comment, subscribe, and share to help us grow and continue bringing you valuable content. We appreciate you.